Hi guys, it's another Thursday for an hour or so still, maybe. So it's time for some more RPG bullshit. Tonight we're going to be discussing Dragonborn and how they interact with the other classes as part of my series on how various races work with various classes. I'm going to brief bit on Dragonborn because we've reached the section of the PHB which involves the uncommon races. You see this little bit here says these races are uncommon. So, as always, that's why everybody plays them. Because if you can't play something weird and something unusual, what's the point? I can be a human in real life. I can't be a wizard. Well, I say I can't be a wizard. They won't let me go around in a wizard's costume yelling stuff at people anymore. The judge says I'm intimidating old ladies. Anyway, I have mental issues. The Dragonborn are what happens when a dragon gets busy with a human. Or, potentially an elf, I guess. It doesn't really say. or when two Dragonborn get busy with each other. A little side note, turns out dragons are colossal perverts and will literally get busy with anything. These are how kobolds apparently exist. These are how dragonborns exist. Did you hurt yourself again, Maxie? Yeah. Stop hurting yourself. Just off camera is my son, Max. Maxie, do you want to come and say hello to the people? You come here. Come in, come around. Come in. Whoa. You can wave at the camera and say, hello, people.
Hello, people.
Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. I'll put you back down. Oh, I love you. Anyway, the title of the show is Wargamer Dad. If kids weren't going to turn up at some point, then what's the point of that title? Anyway, Dragonkin are a proud and strong people. They don't have any real cultural background because they can literally pop out of existence like that or pop into existence like that when a dragon and a human get busy. There are tribes of Dragonborn, but they're not particularly big, nor are they big enough that they formed a race in the sense that other D&D races are races. There are several different types of Dragonborn based on the type of dragon that they came from. I'm not entirely sure what happens when two Dragonborn from different dragons do the nasty. I'd imagine one set of genetics shines through, but who's to say? As a matter of fact, I've no idea what happens when two different dragons of different colours do the nasty. I've never seen multicoloured dragons. Maybe there's an idea for somebody. Create multicoloured dragons. Multifaceted Dragonborn. Rainbow Dragonborn. Yay! Fabulous! I personally find this a little uninspiring because there's not much there to inspire you. You can have lonely clans, you can have sort of a barbarian type existence there quite easily, but there isn't anything really pre-built for you solidly there to play off like you would get with elves or dwarves or any of the more classical races. But on the plus side, it frees you up. There's no type to play against. You can play anything you want, and that is what you are. It does mean it's much easier to roll with all the other classes in terms of background as well. Because of that, what this particular ramble is going to focus a bit more on is the rules and how they work. There are more rules of Dragonborn than you normally get. Well, not more, but different. Your ability scores, you've got strength increases by 2, which we can immediately see fighters and others working with our, and charisma by 1, and we can immediately see where that might work. In addition to that, you have draconic ancestry. This won't really work massively for any particular class, but it is something worth considering. they haven't got every type of dragon built into Dragonborn. I'm sure some of the expansions will have crystalline and other multifaceted dragons in there. We've got black, blue, brass, bronze, copper, gold, green, red, silver and white. Each one with their appropriate damage, and each Dragonborn gains a breath weapon similar to that appropriate damage. For example, black have damage resistance to acid and a 5 by 30 foot line. Blue is lightning and again a line. Brass, bronze, copper are all line. Gold, green, red, silver and white are all cones. Your more traditional fire breath, for example, a red dragon breathing a cone of fire, which is a 15-foot cone, which is nasty. Silver and white have cold, green has poison, gold again has fire, being the metallic equivalent of a red chromatic. Let's say black acid, blue lightning, brass fire, bronze lightning and copper acid. I've always wondered about copper dragons because if you ever read the dragon backgrounds, each dragons tend toward a certain personality type, and that gives you something you can go towards if you want. Copper dragons tend to be practical jokers and more gregarious, more friendly. But at the same time, you've got a good dragon who is killing people by acid. I don't know if you've ever watched the original RoboCop, but there's a scene in it which quite beautifully demonstrates what acid does to people, and by God, it's hideous. I can't imagine how something which is a good creature can use acid as a weapon, given the definitions of good as we tend to hold them, and as D&D certainly likes to. Hold them. Killing something lightning, quick and easy. Killing something with fire, longer, takes a bit more time, but still relatively quick, as is cold, compared to acid, which is an horrific way to go. I mean, the acid would have to be so strong as to be impossible. And we know from the amount of damage these acids do that they're not that strong. For the equivalent kind of damage you expect from fire, from cold and that, the acid is going to be a pretty horrific way to kill somebody. Even if you're not killing somebody, just breathing acid. Someone gets burnt by fire, that's terrible. I mean, that's horrific to begin with. But compared to acid burns are nasty. I mean, fire you can put out. Lightning, it's going to cause you a scar. But once that heals, that's going to look cool and you're going to be okay. Cold, again, you might get some cold bites and some scarring, but it's going to look fine. Acid is going to eat into you. Anyway. I'm not going to go too much into the flame types or into the damage types or damage resistant types, because they don't really affect too much of the abilities. However, certain types will lend themselves thematically to certain classes or certain subclasses. And we're going to start with the Dragonborn Barbarian idea. The idea of a Dragonborn Barbarian is fairly solid. As I said, there is no Dragonborn society, but there are a few hardy, self-sufficient tribes. And hardiness and self-sufficiency are pretty much the bywords that describe your average barbarian. In terms of totems, you do wonder what totem they're going to use, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you've got your two different types of barbarian. You've got two different paths. You've got the path of the berserker, a fire-breathing berserker. That sounds pretty cool to me. You've got the path of the totem warrior. Bears, eagles, and wolves are cool, but you're half dragon, and dragons are cooler than that. So, how you'd work that in would be down to the individual player. Obviously, we've got the +2 strength, and that works really well with any combat class. You're going to be causing extra damage. You're going to be having some more stuff, and then you can breathe fire on top of that, or lightning, or cold. The idea of an ice giant style warrior, an ice warrior living in the frozen tundra, being resistant to cold, and being able to breathe fire, being able to deal with temperatures that normal humans just wouldn't. That's pretty cool too. Again, if you're going...
have to put out the fire.
Do they? Well done. And the idea of... Sorry, just something more. The idea of some sort of Norse-esque worshipping Dragonborn that can also summon lightning again. That works quite well. So that's pretty cool. Dragonborn bards, you've got the +1 charisma. So that works in well with the bards. There's nothing particularly background-wise that lends itself to bards. Because again, they don't have too much of a background. But the character, the ability to sing or play instruments, this is all going to work fairly well with any kind of creature. Dragonborns are no exception. The rule-wise are fairly solid. I've seen College of Law bards. A friend of mine, Tom, played one of the best bards I've ever seen, and he was a Dragonborn. It's one of the few bards I've actually seen that actually bothered to go and get jobs in places playing music. Yeah, Tom was awesome. I'm going to miss that fucker. Anyway, so I can tell you for a fact that Dragonborn bards work very well. No swearing, thank you very much. And will you stop playing with those scissors?
These are a toy.
No, they're scissors. They're plastic, but they're still scissors. Dragonborn cleric. There's nothing particularly from the Dragonborns that lends itself to cleric, and again, there's no weaknesses that say you shouldn't play a cleric. You've got several domains and several things, and again, a cleric that can call the lightning or spew lightning is fairly cool. A cleric... the Dragonborn are particularly inclined to particular gods. However, there are draconic gods in most world systems. So again, that works fairly well with the background. To be following a god of good or evil dragons, that's pretty cool as well. Rules-wise, you don't get much that enhances being a cleric. But again, clerics being one of the original classes, they work pretty much with anything. If you want to take a specific domain that goes well with what you've got, the Tempest domain and being able to breathe lightning is quite cool. I had a thought there that was quite important, but I think it was. Oh yeah, obviously background-wise, clerics are all about extolling the virtues. Having the extra charisma is going to work in a background way there as well, and that's fairly cool. Druids, there's no reason you can't be a druid. Your spellcasting ability is wisdom again for a druid, so same as it is with a cleric, so there's no particular advantage. Taking the right colour dragon and having the right resistance will allow you to survive more naturally and more off of your own skill and guile in certain areas. Again, I previously spoke about existing in the mountains as a barbarian. The same goes for a druid. If you want to be a druid in an Arctic area, being a Dragonborn that's resistant to cold, that works quite well in background, which is quite cool. Or if you want to exist amongst mountains and volcanoes with the unique life and the weird stuff that lives there, again, being a Dragonborn that's resistant to either heat or acid, because they do spew a lot of acids and noxious gases, that's going to be quite cool as well. The charisma and the strength bonuses don't do anything specific. You've got several druid circles, mountain, Arctic, desert, swamp. Again, you can see how they might work with the appropriate damage resistances available to a Dragonborn. We've got the fighter class. Obviously, as previously mentioned with the barbarian, anything with a +2 strength is going to excel as a fighter. You're hitting harder, you're hitting for more damage, and you're more likely to actually be able to smack that thing in the face. And that's cool. Monks, again, another combat class where your strength is going to help you. Your key energy Add that to breath attack, you're going to be able to call on weird and wacky attacks a lot of the time, and that works quite well. In addition to that, there's nothing particular that takes away from it. Again, the picture of a monastery up there, you can see it's amongst the mountains. Being able to resist the cold, it might be a cool little side thing there, but it's not going to really do anything massive. But again, there's nothing against it. Dragonborns do work well with pretty much anything. You've got the way of the 4 elements here. Again, you can look at that and you can go, okay, I'm gonna work with these and combine it with my dragon abilities. Straight away, you can see you've got casting elemental spells, and you've got the elemental disciplines. You've got the breath of the winter, fangs of the fire snake, flames of the phoenix. All those, whilst they're not going to combine with your dragon-like abilities, if you're playing in a thematic way, it's going to be cool. Be able to go breath of winter and cast a cone of cold, and then be able to spew another cone of gold. That gives you 2 ice-like abilities, which is going to be quite cool. Or you can play it the opposite. You can go with it. You can look at what abilities you've already got and take a Dragonborn to take the abilities that you don't have with it. Covering other areas. Paladins work off charisma, so rules wise, straight away we've got a possibility there. That's going to buff you up. Paladins are also fighters, so with a strength buff, again, straight away we can see how the rules lend themselves to a Dragonborn. Without having a particular culture, and this applies as well to the clerics, seeking validation or history in a religion is something that really could give a Dragonborn purpose in their life. There are plenty of dragon gods, but you don't have to go with one of those. You could choose to try and find your human side and go with a human god, using that to give you a path. And as Dragonborn are particularly big, particularly tough, particularly strong, a paladin just works perfectly. You've got the charisma to help fuel your spells. You've got the sorry guys, twitching. Where was I? Yeah, you've got the charisma to fuel your spells, and you've got the strength, the extra strength to back up your physical might, meaning that already you're starting ahead of most people. Paladins are one of those classes where you've got charisma for your spells, strength for your attacks, and fortitude for your damage. So playing something like a Dragonborn that gives you buffs in 2 of those can free you up to invest more damage resistance, more points in your fortitude, and add that to your damage resistance. Means your Dragonborn is going to be a more survivable paladin. You're not having to spread those character creation points quite so thin. You don't have to worry as much about having a dump class. If you've got if you've got a score if you haven't got scores rather that are high enough to create a very effective paladin, you can put one of your lower scores or mid-range scores in strength and rely on that 2+ buff to bring it up. So that's also lends itself very well to a paladin. Until I'd actually gone through it, I didn't realise how well paladins and Dragonborn work. The sacred oaths lend themselves to anybody. There's nothing particularly special on Dragonborn, and nothing not special. Rangers. The Dragonborns are very hardy, very self-sufficient. Ow, your belly. Tickle your belly. The Dragonborns are very hardy and self-sufficient. This lends itself to being a ranger. And the same bonuses that we discussed with barbarians and with druids also work with rangers. The barbarian, the druid and the ranger often have a lot of crossover in that way. Gonna have to pause for a second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Perils of being a dad. My kid just broke a glass. It's all cool. Anyway, it's quite cool. You've got the ability to change form, which is something dragons traditionally have, so that ties into the background of a Dragonborn. As you go down to a ranger, you can choose to change form and the like. Nothing else rules-wise. Get out of it. Maxie, behave. Nothing else rules-wise really lends itself. The idea of dragons as one of the ultimate hunters works in the background. The idea of dragons... Hey you. Hey you. You see me. The idea of dragons... Go back there. Being the ultimate hunters works in the hunter background. The idea of being able to speak to other animals works in the Beastmaster's background. Rogues. If you're playing the swashbuckling kind of rogue who relies on wit, the bonus in charisma is nice. If you're playing the kind of thuggish rogue that relies on beating up people up and robbing people, the buff in strength is nice. And being resistant to acid means you can survive acid traps and other type. Your resistances may help with traps come there. Being able to use acid to melt through locks, again, that might be useful. Rules-wise, there's not much that particularly lends itself to rogues in terms of the strength and charisma buffs. There's nothing that makes you go, ooh, that'll work. But there's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. Anything else is fairly simple. You know, your arcane trickster, again, nothing particularly lends it. Stop it. We can go to bed when Daddy's finished his story. Sorcerer-wise, background-wise, that's perfect. One of the sources of magic is draconic blood, so being a Dragonborn sorcerer is right in there and amazing. I am reading my book to the people. There are a lot of fire-based sorcerers. We can go for a lightning or an ice-based sorcerer and tie that in with your dragon type, and that is very cool background-wise. Having the strength will make you... Yes, it's dark out there. Oh, poor cock. Background-wise, the powers work quite well there. The strength is always a good buff, allowing you to put a lower stat in the strength to put stats elsewhere. But other than that, there's not much that lends itself particularly to sorcery. Wild magic. Yeah.
I'm back.
I love you. Wild magic's always cool, but doesn't particularly lend itself to Dragonborn. Warlock. Again, it's cool. Where's your spellcasting ability? The spellcasting ability with charisma automatically, instantly says that lends itself to warlocks. Instantly gives you a bit of a bonus. The strength, not much bonus there, but again, you can use strength as anything that gives you a +2 bonus allows you to use something as a dump stat and go, right, this is my waste stat. This is the stat I don't care about. I'm gonna put my lowest score here, and it doesn't affect me too much because it's got a +2 bonus to it. But it doesn't instantly lend itself to being a warlock. Dragonborn are supposedly proud and self-sufficient. That kind of puts against you then making a pact with somebody, but anybody can be desperate enough. I'm not sure which patron you would take. You've got Archfey, Fiends and Old Ones. None of those particularly work with dragons. Perhaps a fire-breathing red dragon or gold dragon will work well with some of the abilities you get from the Fiends. Certainly, the aspect of Dragonborn could be played off to look slightly demonic. But yeah, the charisma's a buff, but not, the charisma's a buff, and some of the abilities would look cool, but nothing else works itself well. And then finally, finally, we've got wizards. Again, wizards being one of the older classes, they work with pretty much anything, but there's nothing in Dragonborn that lends itself towards it. If you want to go for a specific type of wizard, some of the Dragonborn abilities might help. If you want to be the classic fireball thrower, having another fire weapon is cool. Being resistant to fire, again, both with wizards and back to the sorcerers. It works if you accidentally set the entire building on fire. Being resistant to fire might be nice. If you're using acid arrow or clouds of acid, being resistant to it so you can walk through it and not be as badly affected yourself might be an advantage. but again, there's nothing that particularly lends itself to being a wizard. You've got various schools, your abjuration, your evocation, and that which kind of go with Dragonborn. You know, if you're resistant to one thing, and then you use your magic to make yourself resistant to another, that's kind of cool. If you're shooting fireballs and you can breathe fire at the same time, that gives you another fire-based attack, and again, that's kind of cool. Dragons are known to hoard, so having someone who's a hoarder of knowledge, again, that works with the Dragonborn. And swinging back to the bard, that works with the bard as well. I've actually had one of the people in my game play that way as a Dragonborn hoarder of knowledge, and it was quite cool. Yeah, and that's basically it, guys. I hope this has helped some of you out, giving you some inspiration for ways to play characters or ways to make characters work a little more efficiently. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And say bye, Maxie. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Bye-bye. Hi, guys. Hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there. And please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.